And it all comes down to this for Miami. It is rivalry week across college football, not necessarily for the Canes, of course, because those games were played earlier, but it's a must-win situation, must win and hope that other things fall into place and the committee sees something that they seem to be seeing in a clearer perspective, let's say, each and every week. Welcome into Canes Live right here at the Voice of College Football. We do this every Wednesday night with Cam Underwood from the State of the U, of course. Leave those comments and questions down there in the chat. Hey, Cam.
Mark, what's going on? Guys, what's going on? I see people are trickling in here on a Wednesday evening before Thanksgiving, and appreciate you guys being here with us. And 1-0 in the week and 1-0 in the chat. Leroy. L, thank you for getting us started here, man. Yeah, good to be here. We're going to talk about what there is to talk about and move forward. But yeah, just 1-0 every week, just like Leroy said in his comment. I didn't even see that there was the comment there. 1-0 every week, and then the Zombieland celebration. Yeah, so that's the goal. But I don't even think that 1-0 every week matters anymore, to be perfectly honest.
So I'm looking at these college football playoff rankings as they're being unveiled last night, and this makes no sense to me. So, as I recall that my lighting screwed up. But anyway, that I personally, wherever I've got Miami at this point, it's about 3 spots higher than the committee, but would have had for quite some time the entirety of the season. Miami ranked ahead of Utah. Okay. Have had Miami ranked ahead of Utah, comfortably ahead of Utah. They've had Utah ahead of Miami. And then, so that has been their stance. Now, based on what happened last weekend, I think they had no business jumping Miami over Utah. I believe that should have already been the case. Now, how that committee could look at the results of those two games and determine that beating Virginia Tech by 17 points was that much and that much of a conclusive win versus Utah beating Kansas State by 4 points. Like I would have more respect for this committee if they came out and said, you know what, we've looked back upon previous decisions and previous iterations of our rankings, and we've made some adjustments and looked, deeper into things and made some corrections. I would have more respect for them if they did that, rather than just kind of trying to slide things here and there to make up for mistakes previously.
Again, this is the singular coordinated effort against the University of Miami. I know that we lost 2 games and gave them the opportunity to really lean into this, but it could not be more clear. When Hunter Yurchek came on and said the bullshit about, well, Miami is the team who's moved up the most in the rankings since we've started, so you guys had to be happy with that. They've only moved up because you underranked us by 10 spots to begin with. And then, and it's actually funny, somebody looked it up. In 1, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of 13 instances through the rankings of the college football playoff, sum total till now, of teams who played head-to-head. The team who won the game is ranked higher than the team who lost that game in every instance and chance except for Miami and Notre Dame. It is categorical. It is undeniable. And honestly, it is malpractice. Like, this is, it is beyond crazy. And I agree with you. Miami should have been in front of Utah. I told y'all that Utah was a meat shield, was a red coat from Star Trek, just being there to be a block in between, to create this separation in this narrative that's not factual. It's just not. And, the real thing that put me past my breaking point is last week, Reese Davis asked Hunter Yurchek directly and said, Oklahoma beat Alabama head-to-head. Oklahoma is ranked 2 places in front of Alabama because of that head-to-head victory. So when the head-to-head comparison comes between Notre Dame and Miami, that is the precedent you're setting, and you will have the same ordering with respect to Notre Dame and Miami, correct? And he said yes. And then that motherfucker got out here and said, oh, well, there were other teams in the group, and then it's Miami versus Oklahoma versus Alabama versus da-da-da-da. Fuck this shit. Honestly. I'm done. Whatever. I'm sorry that I'm cursing. They have made very clear that there is no way that Miami is making it into the college football playoffs. Period. Win or lose, anything. Well, absent winning the ACC championship game, which there's only like a 8.5% chance that we even get there or something like that. Or I think it's like 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there. But it's less than 20% chance that we even get to the ACC championship game. I am not, to a statement that you said, you're trying to make sense, whatever, just that phrase. I'm not trying to make sense out of nonsense anymore. I'm not going to sit here and try to create a narrative for the committee being truthful, honest, and respectful in terms of rating and placing Miami. It's not going to happen. They have shown it to us from day the first up until now. It was absolute malpractice to have Miami at 18 in the first rankings. I know that we've lost 2 games. And I know, if you don't want to be here, the fact is losses are terminal for Miami and not for other teams. We beat Notre Dame. We should be ranked ahead of them. I'm not even saying Notre Dame shouldn't have a place somewhere in the playoff. But if it's going to be one team, it's Miami who won the game. And everything that they're doing is talking around that. Oh, well, the quality of Notre Dame's losses. Motherfucker, we beat them. So they're getting more credit for losing to us than we are getting. I'm going to stop cursing. I apologize. I'm infuriated. I am beyond angry. I am done. I'm going to watch this game on Saturday at noon. I'm going to dual screen it because Michigan plays at home against the team from the state south of Michigan. And I'm going to enjoy what happens. I want Miami to win. I picked Miami to win by a touchdown to 10 points. I believe that we're going to end this season 10-2, 6-2 in the conference. We're not going to make it to the ACC championship game. Our season is done. And I'm not going to sit here and try to create this fictional world where the committee does anything other than screw Miami out of a place. And again, there are other teams, right? But there are other teams that are placed above Miami that I don't necessarily think should be and will be in the end. It has become very clear to me what they're going to do. And it's not even what they're going to do. It's what they have been doing. And they're going to complete the task they've set out to do from inception. When you watch games all across the landscape of college football, no matter the outlet, no matter the parent company, every single one downplays Miami. Even for a game where we doubled up Virginia Tech, ESPN even said, escaped a scare. We led the last 42 and a half minutes of that game by double-digit points. What are you talking about? Escaped a scare. It was never closer than 10, bro. What are you talking about? But that's the narrative push. When it was 15-10 Notre Dame going into the fourth quarter at Boston College, one of the worst teams in captivity a couple weeks ago, and we're screaming about it and said, well, here you go, watching somebody else's game and talking about it. Where was that in terms of the evaluation? But it was a game control and everything. It's infuriating. We should not have lost the games that we lost, especially to the mid-ass group known as the Louisville Cardinals. That is a terrible performance, right? And it ended up with losing a game. It's not a bad loss. You know what a bad loss is? Losing to Florida State this year. But that's a week 1 game, so we don't want to talk about that, right? It's just, yeah, I am past my wit's end. Again, I apologize for all of the foul language, but that's the measure of my emotion. No, I'm going to stop right there. I've said everything I need to say. I'm done.
Yeah, I've always considered will they have better losses than them when you're talking about two teams that played each other and you're speaking negatively about the team that won the game as being a complete oxymoron statement. That if you're calling that an excellent loss, if you're giving credit to one team for having a good loss and comparing them directly to the team that beat them, well, then that is said team that you're saying that was a good loss to.
Right. This is us trying to apply actual logic to things. The College Football Playoff Committee does not care. They speak in contradictions. Every sentence contradicts the previous one. And again, the outright lies. Like, you can go back and look at the broadcast from the 28th, or sorry, from the 18th. When Reese Davis asked Hunter Yurachek, okay, Oklahoma, Alabama, this is what we're doing with teams who beat other teams, right? So when Miami and Alabama or Miami and Notre Dame are in the same group, and again, you place these teams in the groups and you're the ones who say that we cannot compare them because they're in a different competitive, blah, blah, blah. But when that happens and they move up, you're going to place them above the team that they beat, right? And he said, absolutely, this is what we're doing. This is how we value things. And then when it happened, no. Also saying Oregon gets full credit for beating number 5 or whatever, 4 Penn State at peak optimization, right? And then other teams who beat teams who have fired their coaches, oh, well, that doesn't count. What are we talking about? It just, yeah. No, I'm done. I've been putting lipstick on the pig for a few weeks here. I've been trying to put on a happy face in a positive for Miami spin. I'm done with it, bro. Like, it's just not. It's very clear. It's been clear what they've been doing and how they formulated it, and I've been saying it. But I'm taking off the kid gloves. I'm taking off the nice wrapping paper and flashing lights. Like, no, I'm done, bro. Like, it's whatever. Yeah, and Joey Galloway missed me with everything that he said. Just every single thing that he said. He could not be further away from any actual sense of logic. The only person in the media landscape, like the big, mainstream media landscape, who actually evaluates things on the basis of having played, even Joey Galloway, who I know played. It wasn't Marcus Spears. It was who's the other one?
Booker McFarland.
Booker. He's the only one who said they played on the field. What are we talking about? He's the only person, Fox, ESPN, anywhere else. He's the only one. But and his voice is a minority to that point in the commentary. You know that they're not doing anything in the room. Yeah, I'm done. Joel Klatt is fair. Wow, Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle. He's had Miami outside of his top 15 for the last 4 weeks. I don't know what fair with Joel Klatt you're seeing, because I definitely surely have not seen it. But yeah, no, I'm frustrated on a number of levels. Number one, Miami should not have lost the games that they lost. But even with losing those losses have been termed terminal to Miami's pursuit of the college football playoff in a way that losses by other teams, even with 2 losses on the year, the ones that you're seeing on the screen right in front of you, have not been deemed terminal. It is, I'm done. We're going to go win at Pittsburgh, and we're going to be sitting at home, and we're going to be talking about the Gator Bowl or whatever the bowl game is in Orlando or whatever, because they've made it very clear what they're going to do relative to Miami, regardless of result. So I'm not going to sit here and try to make up a world where they're going to do something other than what they've clearly shown us they're going to do, which is a coordinated effort against Miami to keep them out, period.
All right, folks, we appreciate your comments and questions. About the only thing that I can, I can't really speak to any of these guys that we're talking about in terms of, I have never been impressed with Joey Galloway, but that's aside from this particular issue. Never impressed with him as a commentator. Very impressed with him as a wide receiver. But anyway, as a commentator, never impressed. But I don't know what he said about Miami and Burger Farland. I've never been impressed with him as a commentator, but it doesn't take great football analysis. We could pull in people that don't even really understand football and just say these two teams played, they have the same record. Who would you rank ahead of the other team? It's pretty just logical.
But again, we're using logic and they're not. And the other thing, the last thing that I'll say is Hunter Yurchek also said, oh, well, Notre Dame has been a more consistent team throughout the body of the season. So you're saying since week 4, right? Because apparently the first 3 weeks of the year didn't happen because they lost to Miami in week 1, they had a bye week in week 2, and they lost to Texas A&M in week 3. So apparently the month of September didn't happen or anything up until September the 15th. Because it was August 31st or the 16th because they played on you know what I mean? But nothing happened in the world of college football before, we'll call it August or September the 17th. Apparently, according to them, it's just sorry. Yeah, I'm very, very angry. But I'm thankful for Chris Gons. Who says happy Thanksgiving to both you and I and everyone in Canes Nation. Go Canes. Beat Pitt. Take care of business. I agree. But as I said in my long rant, even when we take care of business, I don't think that it's going to have any relevant effect for Miami.
And even if it does, or there's an attempt to be fair to, well, it still doesn't make any sense because of the head-to-head. But anyway, if you want to take into account like comparisons elsewhere, obviously Notre Dame played Pitt, and for Miami, now I could see Miami posting a similar score as Notre Dame, but I watched that game and Notre Dame dragged them up and down the field about as bad as any Power 4 team can do to another Power 4. Like that was like total yardage, like 300 to 30 at one point, and they killed Pitt. So that's only going to provide this committee with more ammunition when Miami, let's say they win by 10 points or 2 touchdowns.
But I mean, also Pitt abdicated that game. Pat Nardizzi didn't care about that game. And I believe the performance backed that up. It is what it is. It is what it is. The other thing that they don't want to talk about is the fact that they've beaten the dregs of the earth this year. You have the worst teams in America on their schedule. Like you have, let me go and call it out to be.
Well, outside of Miami beating Notre Dame, I don't think either one of them has beaten any really good football teams.
Right. But they have Arkansas.
USC is a good team.
Yeah. Arkansas,
USC is a good team.
Boston College, Syracuse, Stanford. Like they have all of the worst teams from both, from these conferences. Like, and I'm not even saying but well, there's even that Navy's kind of mid, Boise State's mid, Purdue, like the plethora of terrible teams that they've beaten. And I know people are going to say, well,
they've both beaten terrible teams.
Right.
I think it just comes down to Miami beat Notre Dame. That's what it comes down to because the rest of the schedule.
But my point is they have all bottom feeders. And yes, in our schedule, we played Stanford, who they're playing. I'm not even going to say that. But when you look, you have the worst team from the Big Ten, the worst team from the SEC, and 3 of the 4 or 4 of the 5 worst teams in the ACC all on your schedule, bro. And then you get a USC team, which is fine. Like it just, whatever. I mean, but again, there I go trying to give other points of conversation where you're saying, hey, Cam, it's the head-to-head. I know that. And I hear you with that. They don't care. So, and I do agree with Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle says we need to win the ACC championship game. It's the only way that we're going to go in. I agree. I don't think that we're going to make it to the ACC championship game because I am, call me doubting Thomas right now, because I am he of little faith where we're going to get the additional results to get to the ACC championship game. Like, I'm done. I'm out on the season. It's over. I'm going to be very upset when after, conference championships in 2 weeks, they announce the bracket and we're going to be ranked similar to where we are, probably ranked number 12, but on the outside looking in, it was closed and while Notre Dame has a freaking home game in the first round. I'm done with it. And I'm going, and I have stopped trying to pretend that I view it otherwise or they're going to do otherwise.
All right, folks. Again, we love the comments and questions, and it's a passionate sport and it's a passionate situation. And this is what it comes down to. This program, this team wants to win a championship, and we only have objective means to get to championship and playoff play at the professional levels. And in college, there are committees involved. So the objective gives way to the subjective and the backroom dealings and the politics. And that's the sport that we have.
Yeah, but this is contrary to sport. It's really, Ari Wasserman has been on this for On 3. This is the worst screw job by a committee ever in the world of college football. Yes, even more than the Florida State thing, because there were multiple layers to things, not exclusive to Florida State, but looking at Alabama and I think there was another team in there. But like looking there were multiple wrong answers and they chose a wrong, like whichever way they went, somebody was going to be screwed over. Here, this is binary. There is a clear right answer and a wrong answer, and they continue to choose the wrong answer at the expense of the right answer multiple times over multiple weeks. So I agree with Mr. Wasserman on that point.
The reason I consider Florida State to be a bigger screw job, so when it comes to evaluation of the football in the field, I don't consider it to be a bigger screw job because I do not think that Florida State team without Jordan Travis was one of the 4 best teams in the country. And when it comes right down to it, the committee does have or at least in that 4-team playoff era, had the what word am I looking for? The count, the command, the requirement of selecting the 4 best teams. Not saying these are the 4 most deserving teams, but these are the 4 best teams. And because of Jordan Travis not playing and Florida State's offense not being functional against Louisville and Florida, that you could make an easy argument that they weren't one of the 4 best teams in the country at that point. But I believe that they got screwed because what else can you do besides go undefeated? That's the ultimate that you've gotten. Like Miami can blame itself for losing games. Other teams that have missed a playoff spot can look at themselves and say, well, shouldn't have lost that game, shouldn't have lost those 2 games. But Florida State, what else could they do?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. But again, when you extrapolate out to Georgia and Alabama, and like there were other teams in there and like who also felt hard done by in a different way, but in the same kind of going towards your point of finding the best 4 teams. But that was a footnote. I don't necessarily need or want to discuss that any further. Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle, we are the greatest talk about team on TV and podcasts in the last 3 weeks. Yeah. Because it's very apparently clear. This is like, again, to the point, Mark has no connection to the University of Miami and everything, and he's been the one shouting at me, Cam, it's the head-to-head. It's logical sense. And he's not the only one, but again, across the world of content creation in the world of college football, it's a layup. It's handed to you on a silver platter. Hey, they're getting this wrong intentionally. What in the world is going on? So yeah, everybody's talking about us, but, and I know that there's people out there who are going to be so very happy to see me upset. They're going to be so very happy to tap dance on the grave of the Miami Hurricanes for not making the college football playoff again in another 10-2 season. And again, claiming the victory against Pittsburgh. I believe that we're going to win that game. Now, if we lose the game, then of course people are going to be more tap dancing and happy and everything. But yeah, it is what it is. And, people love to have our name in their mouth. So
if the situation came involved or the argument, one of two other things, I would still not agree with it, but I would at least understand it. So when I get into an argument with someone, sometimes I don't agree with the other side and believe it's completely farcical and ridiculous and not even worth discussing. Other times I get into an argument with someone and don't agree with them, but I understand their logic, their approach, well thought out, but I still don't think it's the right result. In this situation, I can understand, and I'm sure you've come to conclusions at times, but looking at two football teams and thinking, okay, one of them won the game, but I still believe that this other team is better. I would have no issue with anyone, because push comes to shove, I don't know who I would tell you I believe is the better football team. But let's say I came to the determination, I think Notre Dame's a better football team here on November 27th or whatever the date is than Miami. I would still say, if I had the power to select the playoff teams, that regardless of what I thought about the two football teams, that I had to do what's right and say they're both 10-2. I am selecting Miami because they did what is required in a competitive situation. They earned the spot. So maybe I personally think Notre Dame's better, but you know what? Miami earned the spot.
Right. But if Notre Dame is better, then that only strengthens the case in the resume of Miami.
Yes, I have no issue with anyone saying that. Like, I personally think Notre Dame's a better football team, but Miami has earned the spot. The other thing I still wouldn't agree with, but I would understand better, is if Notre Dame ran some kind of gauntlet and people were like, I know they lost to Miami, but since then they've beaten Oregon and Alabama and Oklahoma and this team and that team. And wow, that resume is just overwhelming.
And as I stated before, it has been no such murderer's row.
No.
So, yeah, there's a Oregon fan saying if we play them in the playoffs, they're going to beat us like we stole something. Cool, bring it. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. SMU is 9-3. If they win, they're in the ACC championship game. I'm sorry, 8-3. Louisville 7-4. Again, I said that was a very poor performance, but I'm not going to treat those games like we lost to Florida State or something like that. Like, it's just not that. Also, SMU was ranked this week, and there was no conversation about the quality of the loss for Miami and like having lost to a ranked team. There was none of that, even though in the same comparative conversation, they said, oh, well, Notre Dame's losses are to two teams who are ranked in the College Football Playoff 25. Oh, hey. Oh, no. Cool. Anyway, what was that? Black Raider Steel. This isn't surprising or new. It was hinged on two teams getting in 2000. Yes, true. With the Florida State. I know that Mark is going to say that we lost to Washington, and Washington had a conversation there as well.
They should have been in the national championship game.
Which just like you're talking about, I don't agree with, but I understand. And if you're going to do the transitive property of we beat them and they beat us, cool. All right. I don't like it, but they beat us. All right. There it is. So, if you wanted to extend that out, that's something that, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say, oh, well, Miami beat Notre Dame and we should be in this year, but Washington should have been in over us in 2000. Now, I get where the statement comes from. Black Raider Steel is the BCS rankings at the end of the year had Florida State over us. So it was very, very close. So that's where the binary thing comes from. So off of that, we should have been in over Florida State. Boom, done. Yes. Now, if you want to say, okay, well, they beat up, Washington beat us, and they should have been over both of us. Hey, you know what? I just got to shrug and say, there you go. Because you play games to win and lose, and sometimes you lose, and then that's what happens. Even in a comparative situation where you would have the team that beat the other team ahead, which is the basis of my complaint with the College Football Playoff Committee, because we did that and are not getting, like, there again, Notre Dame is getting a higher value and respect for losing to Miami than Miami is getting for beating Notre Dame, which is just darn ridiculous. Street 6. Hey, go Canes. Love that. Let me see. Hassan Kayab, he put some other stuff at the end of his name this week. He's worried because, we know how the refs like to screw Miami, like the SMU game, by the way. And now the committee doesn't want Miami in the playoffs. I mean, they never wanted us in the playoffs. So, it is what it is. I mean, yeah, we're going to have to overcome all kinds of situations. I will not be surprised at any crazy calls in the Pittsburgh game because it's clear that they've already made the call. And yes, CFC Canes fan, we lost SMU due to a phantom roughing call. Look, there was the roughing call. There were, the pass interference against Keelan Marion that was thrown or not thrown. JoJo Trader getting tackled and dry humped in the end zone on the in overtime on the play that ended up with the interception going towards Malachi Toney, because where the ball was supposed to go, the guy was being tackled and dry humped in the back of the end zone. Like, yeah, it is what it is. So, yeah, hey, I know that this is not rainbows and sunshine for me this week, but I'm fed up.
I know that you're steering us away from scenarios and so forth because you don't want to hope, and you've illegitimized the committee, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But if two of these three things happen,
mm-hmm.
Oklahoma loses to LSU,
mm-hmm.
Alabama loses to Auburn,
mm-hmm.
BYU loses a Big 12 championship game. Now, that one's a little dicier because they'd still have a better record than Miami and lost to, if they badly lose a Big 12 championship game.
Those 11-1 Texas Tech team, though.
Those are your options. Those are your opportunities.
I still don't even think, because, I still don't even see it going Miami's way. I really don't. And I mean, I get that we could play the scenario game. We could look at those things. Number one, I really don't think that Auburn beats Alabama, but that is a game where crazy things happen. I will admit that. I don't think that that's going to happen. And I don't think, especially if they get to 11-1, BYU losing, like, I don't know the number Texas Tech would have to hang on them for them to lose in the Big 12 championship game, for that to have a large enough negative effect. Because again, it's a conference championship game. And even in my world, where I mean, just being real, I don't think that Miami even gets to the ACC championship game. So you're going to be like, cool, this team played another game against a number 5 team and lost, and now we're going to drop them behind a team that's been at home since Thanksgiving weekend? Yeah, I don't.
And their 2 losses are to the number 5 team in the country.
Exactly.
That's their other loss.
Right.
I understand.
Yeah.
Alabama is only a 5-point favorite in that game. Auburn is the most unlucky team in captivity this season.
They have been very unlucky.
This is really crazy. Now, this is not an Auburn show, but give me 30 seconds, everyone. Going into the Kentucky game, in which Hugh Freeze was fired when they put up a pitiful performance, albeit against Kentucky, lost 10-3. But going into that game, they were 4-4. Point number 1, they got completely screwed out of a touchdown against Georgia that would have given them a 17-0 lead with the ball carrier over I have no idea what they were looking at replay, but it would have been 17-0 at halftime. Not that they couldn't have blown that lead. It's possible. Okay. But most teams, this happens maybe 5% of the time, if that, lose a 17-0 lead. Point number 2, if you saw the calls against them against Oklahoma, like even the SEC came out and said, Yeah, these were like, and they had another situation with Missouri overtime pass interference calls that were roughing the passer. It was like an SMU kind of thing for them. They would have been 7-1 going into that Kentucky game. And who knows?
And Hugh Freeze is still employed at that point.
I find it funny in that, and I'm not defending Hugh Freeze at all. We know what his past is like, and if he's been redempted from that, that's great. That's amazing. But I don't know, so I don't judge the man. But we know what he's done in the past again. So I'm no big fan of Hugh Freeze. But I find it interesting in these cases where Hugh Freeze keeping his job and losing his job, he could have been the exact same coach doing the exact same thing, making the exact same moves, but it was all because of officials that he had 3 more losses. I just find that fascinating.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. Yeah, and that Georgia touchdown overrule was, I mean, that was definitely a call from the league office of, hey, you know where our bread is buttered. Do what you need to do, kind of a thing. Straight butter brings up the fact that Notre Dame's last championship was also at the behest of a negative call against the University of Miami. That was not a fumble, obviously. Talking about Cleveland Gary in 1988. I mean, it wasn't. Then if you say, well, there's the penalty that gave Miami a touchdown. True. I'm not going to ignore the other part. It wasn't a fumble, but it is what it is. So, yeah. I don't know. Like, honestly, at this point, and I know that Mario Cristobal has been, his phrase, is, what about the on-field test? Where you play a team and you win head-to-head. How about that test? As opposed, because the eye test is the phrase du jour, even though the College Football Playoff Committee has put out many statements and rubrics and things saying the eye test is not part of the evaluative process. They are these tangible things that were, but again, when it comes to the University of Miami, we ignore the rules so that we screw them over. So it is what it is. I hope that this lights a fire under this team. It seems that they've been playing with that fire for a few weeks now. Sorry, that sparkling water from earlier was fighting back. They've played strong football recently. And, I want that to continue. I think that it will continue at Pittsburgh. Last week, Virginia Tech, they tweaked a couple things in the run game, and they had the best day on the ground against Miami that anyone had all year. I could be petty and mention that Notre Dame fancies himself as a running game team, and they did nothing against Miami, but that would be petty. And why? So, but Virginia Tech, they did have a very nice game, and Miami on the other side had their second worst rushing day of the year. There were plenty of big plays on the ground to be hit. We didn't hit them. And then some really, they kept zagging when we were zigging on defense and gashed us on the ground a little bit. A lot of it was the most yardage that we gave up on the ground all year. Well, I think we're going to put that behind us, and we just need to continue to go out there and really, really take this stuff personally. Miami's getting healthy again. There's the expected return of O.J. Frederick for the first time in 6 weeks. Mark Fletcher is back. David Blay, who continues to be game time decision but not playing, he should be back this week. C.J. Daniels and Wesley Saint have been on kind of pitch counts for the last couple of weeks, but getting them in full force and everything. So you're getting the healthiest version that you can have. I mean, Keontae Scott is out, like his career, his college career is done. He's not coming back. But the other guys are. I will say the injuries that we have sustained in the second half of the season, this is what I was complaining about back in the spring when the schedule came out and we saw 7 weeks in a row. Just because it's, you're going to have just wear and tear, attrition. This is a collision sport, not even a contact sport, a collision sport, and crazy things happen. And running 7 weeks in a row with no week off, you see a little bit of that in terms of the health of the team. Nothing else. I'm not talking about the performance. I'm not talking about, but just in having missed the guys that we've missed from the field due to injury recently. But you're going to be getting a lot of guys back. Kane Angel, excuse me. Miami Pittsburgh is Saturday at noon on ABC. And opposite the game from the big house on, what are they on now? Fox. Yeah, at noon. That's Michigan, Ohio State, in case anybody who's not from one of those states would know. So yeah, high noon, and then just like I don't know if I wrote it or somebody, but it's I tweeted it for Miami. If you're hopeful still, I'm not, of making the ACC championship game, it's win and wait on Saturday. So win, and the other games are later in the day. Somebody said this on a broadcast, I forget who. I wish that they would do this like the English Premier League last day of the season. Coordinated start times. Ain't no scoreboard watching because everybody plays at the same darn time. So you got somebody in the clubhouse who's running back and forth up to the bench talking about, or in the headset, hey, Mark, just want to let you know what I mean? Like everybody plays at the same time. So it's not win and then wait. And it's everybody's on the field at the same time. I think that's a thing that soccer gets absolutely right, because they do that in the Premier League, they do it in the Champions League, but on decision, all the coordinated team, all the games at the same time, bro. I would love to see that.
Two things come to mind of why that's not going to happen, and the first one right off the bat. TV rules everything, so they're going to put the games where they want the games on what networks. Number two is because now with these crazy conferences running from coast to coast, like if Oregon's Oregon and Washington could play. If Michigan beats Ohio State, that game could play into the deciding factor for the Big Ten championship game. They obviously can't play at 9:00 in the morning, and
so put everybody at 3:30. It's 12:30 on the West Coast. It's 3:30 on the East Coast. It's a decent game time for everybody. It's a little earlier in the day for them, but like whatever.
Well, you can't have all the best games on at 3:30 and then nobody.
Put them at 3:30. Fight it out. I would be here for it personally. But yeah, kind of a thing. But yeah, it's win and wait on Saturday for Miami, because even if Miami wins, you're probably going to have to wait up until the SMU game ish, to the end of that, that's a what? 3:30 game. So you're talking 8:00 at night at the earliest. You know what I mean? Wait, isn't there a game in prime time?
SMU's playing Cal, right? I've lost track of this situation. Virginia wins and they're in.
Virginia and SMU, if they win, and they're in. Miami needs to win and get losses from two of the three: Virginia, SMU, and Duke.
That's what we need. This is crazy.
I hear you.
6-5.
But look, they have won the majority of their ACC games. So actually, no, I was wrong. It could come to pass where we're going to have to be up until Sunday morning, because the SMU at Cal is 8 p.m. Eastern. So, and I know Notre Dame is at Stanford and they kick off at 10:30 Eastern and they're crying about it. Shut up. Whatever. Nobody cares about you. But yeah, if you're a win and wait person for Miami, like imagine this could reasonably happen. Miami beats Pitt at noon, and then Duke loses in the 3:30 window, and Virginia beats Virginia Tech. Right? So Virginia is into the ACC championship game. Miami needs the result of SMU Cal to go Cal to get there. And so now you're up watching a Cal late at night game until whenever, because you need that result. You know what I mean? Like that is not impossible. But I mean, if Miami loses, clearly, they're done. But like, I'm claiming victory and speaking excellence into existence with Miami winning. Like, regardless, actually, now that I think about it, you're going to have to be up that late. Well, no, you wouldn't have to if both Duke and Virginia lost in the 3:30 window. But, It's going to be a long day on Saturday, basically. So win and wait. See what happens.
If Duke and Virginia both lose in the 3:30 window, and then SMU wins, it's SMU Miami. Yes. But if they lose, it's Virginia Miami, I believe.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So I mean, if both Virginia and Duke lose in the midday window, then you're staying up late to watch SMU to see who you play in the ACC championship game. But if they split in that window, then, or even if they both win in that window, well, no, if they both win in that window, then you're out because you need 2 losses from 2 of 3. But you know what I mean? Like, but if they split, which is very possible because Wake Forest is a plucky team. When you said that Auburn was the most unlucky team in the world in captivity this year, I thought about Wake Forest, who's similarly unlucky in some of their early season losses. Maybe not the same, but like they were very close to winning some games and then some things broke and then they lost. That's a good team that can beat Duke. And then
I bet they're the favorite.
Right. And then Virginia Tech is on the rivalry against Virginia. I don't see that continuing this year, but like they almost ran for 2-something against us last week. So what's to say that they don't run for a bunch of yards and all of a sudden, and then things get crazy, find Virginia. Virginia is a 9.5-point favorite at present. So,
they have to be at home, right?
Yeah, they're at home.
Yeah.
So, hey, but yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a long day, but the first things first, you got to win.
Duke's a 1.5-point favorite. They're at home. So Vegas is actually saying Wake is a slightly better team.
Right. Because the normal home field advantage is 3 points for the home team. So if it's less than that, then you're actually giving points to the other team is the way the math works for people who are listening and watching.
8-3.
So
they've had a good year.
Right. And they could be even better. Petey Pablo, number 2. On a lighter note, how are things shaping up for early signing day, which is next week, Wednesday, by the way? Any potential flips to keep an eye on? Things are shaping up well. I am 2/3 of the way done, or almost 2/3 of the way done with the notebooks. I will go back to writing those today and tomorrow and through the weekend. My goal is to be done with them by the end of the day Monday, so I can take a little bit of a breather. So we're going to keep pushing those out or preparing those for your eyeballs and everything. In terms of potential flips and everything, man, this is smokescreen season. There's just a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving pieces. We'll see. There was the kid who just decommitted from Louisville, the linebacker. Louisville linebacker. What is his name? Carson Bush from Louisville St. Xavier High School, 4-star. That's a kid that Corey Heatherman loves, apparently, and has talked to him and everything. So he decommitted on Monday from Louisville. The Louisville people are very upset about that, especially because he's from Louisville, goes to St. X in the city there. One of the top private school football programs like St. X, like Male is MALE is one of the other high schools in the city of Louisville, and he's just recently decommitted. So I would say maybe keep an eye out for Carson Bush, Busch, if you're listening and watching and want to go look up his huddle. That's a guy. I know Miami's chasing all these other dudes. I'm seeing a lot of predictions for Georgia for Blake Stewart, the Atlanta area player formerly committed to Georgia, who's teammates with Jontavius Wyman. Who's committed to Miami at cornerback, by the way. So I'm not sure that that's going to go Miami's way or anything. But, yeah, I will write as many notebooks as there are. At present, there's 30, and I think I've done 18 of them. So just got to keep pushing through on those. And then, just see what we round up with on Wednesday, really.
Absolutely. I got to say that this Pitt Miami matchup reminds me of, based on placement in the season, the final weekend. And it's not that Miami and Pitt have never played on the final weekend, because they had. They played in Hard Rock a couple of years ago and Miami killed them. But it being at Pitt final weekend, I've seen, because I'm interested in another game in the Midwest. How this happens, I have no idea. I've stated this on 2 different podcasts today, that in the Detroit area, it seems as every other year on Thanksgiving week, it's like 52 in the middle of the week on like Wednesday. And by Saturday, it's going to be 25.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, you're from the Midwest just like I am. And we have a phrase in Michigan where all Michiganders know it. Love the weather, wait 5 minutes. Hate the weather, wait 5 minutes. It's like, I feel like Leroy Horde. Hey, man, I'm going to get you 4. If it's 1st and 10, I'm going to get you 4. If it's 3rd and 5, I'm going to get you 4. Like, that's just, it is what it is, man. So, yeah, it's going to be.
But understanding the strengths and weaknesses of those 2 teams, it just seems like it kind of shifts cold like by 30 degrees in like 3 days.
It will happen.
But in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I don't know what the forecast is, but considering I looked it up for the game, I got to think that it's not going to be real pleasant at Heinz Field or whatever they call it these days.
App MarkRogersTV Stadium, I believe, is what
for the noon kickoff.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like low 40s, upper 30s, upper mid 30s, maybe. It is what it is. If you want to be a professional player, you're going to have to go play in the cold. So strap it up, figure it out. You know, Chris Ball said it's not going to really change a lot of the gear that players wear. And I believe that from like a cleats and gloves standpoint, you're going to see some dudes who are going to be wearing, you know, the body armor or the body layer, you know, stuff. I mean, I was called long johns, but like they're not. But you know what I mean? The performance undergarments and everything and whatnot. You'll see some of that because, like, yeah. But and to the point that Chris Ball made, and that every coach of a team playing in the cold of any sport makes, the other team got to deal with it too. So there's no excuse for you not going and performing because it's cold. And then other teams out here too. I'm from Michigan, right? Y'all know this. There were plenty of games of baseball in the spring when I played that had like flurries. I mean, you're literally wearing your long johns because it's 35, 40 degrees. You got these metal bats and you got to really grip it because don't get because it burns up your hand when you get, off the end of the bat or anything. And y'all wouldn't know it to look at me now, but literally my nickname growing up was Little Slim because my dad was Big Slim and before he gained weight, and then I was Little Slim. And I was a very fast player and I wasn't necessarily great at baseball, but you knew what that I could do? I could go courtesy run for the catcher anytime he got on. So our catcher was very good. Friend of mine, Eddie Sabatini, I know he's doing well in his life. And he would get a hit, and so he could go and put on the armor before the next inning. If he was on with 2 outs, Underwood, go run. And I'm sitting there in all kinds of shivering and freezing, like, yo, he said, the pitcher's out there throwing in the same cold. Eddie just got a hit in the same cold. Them fielders are standing out there second and short in the same cold. Go run. All right. Same thing, bro. Nobody cares about how you feel about it. Go do the job. I mean, yeah. But I remember one game specifically that had like not even snow flurries, but like snow, accumulative snow, as we were playing high school baseball in the end of March, April. I want to say like it was. Yeah.
Oh, I know. So I was right there with you about 15 years earlier. Yeah. So, yeah, it was brutal playing. Yeah, like at the very tail end of the high school baseball season, you would start to get those days. It was like, finally, it's warm.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You play the bulk of the season through just horrendous weather. Just brutal. Yeah,
we had jackets. We had, your underlayers. You had all kinds of, oh, yeah, man. But look, it's going to be cold. Perfect football weather, so go out there, hit somebody in the mouth. What I thought you were going to say and make the
I was
Oh,
going to
okay.
go back
Sorry.
to 2017.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, you went there and said about the thing.
Yep.
Yeah, going back to, and I know that people are going to say that. Like, I didn't intentionally say it on the website because I know people have PTSD and they're going to be, oh my God, I can't do it. But like, yeah, a Pitt team at home, last game of the season, Saturday after Thanksgiving. The 2017 was Black Friday, actually, because I was still at my friend's house, where I went for Thanksgiving. Shout out to APD. But yeah, freshman quarterback, decent team, trying in a different measure, but trying to ruin Miami's season. We'll see. I know the Miami has dominated the matchups up there, absent that one in the past, umpteen years. Like, I think that's the only time that they've beaten us up there in 20, 25 years. It just happened to be in 2017 when, we had previously been undefeated to that point. So, yeah, look, we got to go and win, man. By hook or by crook, but, however it happens, you got to go up there and win the game.
We had no idea at that time how good that freshman quarterback was going to turn out. Yeah. He was a backup. The starter got hurt, and he just played his first game the weekend before. That was his first start.
That was his first start, yes. Mm-hmm. True story. Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle. How did Wingo, the wide receiver, rank up so high? That's Samorian Wingo from St. Augustine. Go watch the film. Go look at the stats. Samorian Wingo was out here hooping all season long. Like, he was another guy. I know that we've talked about it in other spaces and episodes, right? About Miami really prioritizing guys who go out and perform as seniors on the field in terms of who they're going to add into the class or go try to flip. If you look at a Logan Nagel, who we just flipped from Pitt, if you look at a Isaac Chikwara, who we flipped from Penn State, if you're looking at these guys that Miami has looked at, is okay, look, they went and they proved it on the field as seniors. And so now we're really, like, we saw proof of concept, but now we've seen the production and performance. So boom, we're going to move forward. So Samorian Wingo was already a high blue chipper. And then he went and delivered to an even higher level this fall. That's how he went up so high. That's how he's in the top whatever of the rankings. Now I don't even know. Like, I think he's a top 100 player. Reasonably so and deserved. That's why he went out there and showed and proved it.
All right, folks. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, certainly. And of course, again, it's noon Eastern time on ABC. From Pittsburgh. Miami needs a win and some help to get to the ACC championship game the following Saturday in Charlotte.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to give one more before I give my greetings. Straight butter. Appreciate the chat, the super chat. Thoughts on conferences with 12 plus teams having a 4-team conference playoff instead of adding a 9th game. A 4-team conference playoff would add 2 games. Wait. So I would have to think about that more. What do the other teams do for their 12th game then? You know what I mean? So like if you have 11 games, so 8 conference games, 3 non-con, and then your top 4, they play week 4, the last week of the season to get to the 2 who go to the conference championship game. What do the other 8 teams do for or the other remaining teams? Sorry, not 8, but the remaining non-top 4 teams. What do they do for their 12th regular season game? Because they're going to need those because of finances. So you're not going to just give those up for free. You're not going to shrink the season down by a game. And then there's just logistical issues of not knowing anything about the game forthcoming until the Sunday before the game. You know what I mean? So if you're like, hey, if there are teams in a pool all of a sudden from the Big 10, SEC, and ACC, and Big 12, you just kind of find a matchup, but you got to do travel. You got to do, I mean, look, think of all the game day staff. Think of the police officers and security on site. Think of there's so many moving parts of logistics to just all of a sudden, we're going to go play a game that I think that part of things makes it untenable because you need at least the 2 weeks to figure out how, hey, cool, we're going to go play, we'll call it Texas for Miami, right? Assuming that Texas and Miami are not in their top 4s, we're going to go play Texas, not this week, but next week. You got 2 weeks, you can figure it out. But on a week of, and again, with everything that all the infrastructure needed for a team to host a game, and then for the other team to then travel. And remember last year when we saw the TikToks and Instagram reels from the truck drivers who drove all the 18-wheelers of gear from Miami to the Bay for the Cal game when they had to leave a week early? And hey, I drove another 14-hour day. I'm going to rest at this rest stop here in Ruston, Louisiana. Cool. I drove another 16 hours. I'm just outside of El Paso, Texas. Hey, I just drove another 13 hours. I'm somewhere outside of Flagstaff, Arizona. You remember that? That's how much I get it that like we think of the team being the group of players and coaches. There's so much more infrastructure that goes into moving teams and games and setting all that up that I don't, right now, thinking about this live, don't see how that could actually work from an application standpoint. Theoretically, this is great. Theoretically, I don't know practically how that can happen. I'll have to think about it. This is a really good question and a really good scenario. So I thank you for bringing it up. But yeah, my short story long, immediate answer, I don't see how this is feasible.
So a modification of that I've heard served up that, okay, again, logistics aside, make more sense to me because this whole idea of playing conference championship game, if the playoff is the focus, winning a national championship, and the conference championship is lesser than it's been in the past, then you're almost penalizing these teams for playing in conference championship games and playing an extra game. Therefore, you peel back the season and you seed the teams, and that final weekend is a seeding of all the teams in the conference. So that's where you're placing the rest of the teams. They're seeded as well. Even the worst team in the conference gets seeded against, maybe if you have a 12 team, you go 1-4 versus 2-3, and then maybe 12 plays 5 and 11 plays 6. And you set it up like a NCAA tournament bracket, right? Is how you do that.
But I mean, we don't even really have 12-team leagues is the thing. So you have even more to consider outside of that.
Yeah, with a 17-team conference, that's kind of difficult to do. Somebody's not playing football.
Right. But then maybe there's a team from another conference and you run into the same kind of issue. You know?
Yeah, the other modification I've heard is basically give the weekend, basically to say you've won a conference championship in the regular season and make 3 play 6 and 2, the 3 and 6 and 4 and 5 would play for entry into the college football playoff. Anyway.
Yeah. He's saying that he meant after the 12-game season. You don't have as many weeks in the fall normally. So you're running into bowl games, you're running into other things, and then just that's a lot. But yeah. Anyways, like I said, a really good question. I will ponder on it again in the future. In the meantime, thank you to everyone. I am thankful for this opportunity that I've been doing with Mark here on the show and with all of you in our community for many, many, many years now. So I'm thankful for that, and I appreciate you all for that, Mark especially, for reaching out to me at the beginning when we started doing this crazy thing all of these years ago. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful just to continue to be able to walk the path that I'm on in my personal life and in this passion project endeavor on the side as well. So those are the things that I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for each and every one of you for listening, watching, liking, supporting my work. Anywhere that I do it. Again, this is not my full-time kind of a thing. I am just a very passionate Miami Hurricanes alum and fan, just like you all, and to be able to put out content and engage with you all, whether it's here, whether it's the Real Ones Canes podcast, whether it's stateoftheu.com, all those places, I am very, truly grateful. So thank you all for this opportunity, and thank you all for rocking with me. I do hope that you enjoy, like, and subscribe. Do the same thing over on stateoftheu.com. On Twitter, Underwood Sports, also the State of the U, and we're here with Mark, and you see that his at VOCFB underneath me as well. So yeah, thankful for all of you. I wish all of you peace and blessings. I hope that you have great times with your family, relaxing tomorrow and through this weekend. And I will check you guys next week. Thanks so much.
Cam, I am going to spare you and everyone else with duplicate thanks of all those things, but I would say the same thing. But I simply want to point out your contribution here, and you guys hear it each and every week, that without Cam, there is no show. Is there a different analyst here that I would have to go find? Yes, but the nuts and bolts, but also the flavor of this show is simply Cam knowing his team, having passion and knowledge, and that great combination, and what he delivers is indescribable. I'm doing my best to describe it in 5 seconds, but it's indescribable. You guys know what I'm talking about because you hear it here every Wednesday. So we appreciate everyone's contribution. Cam, thank you so much for making this show in and of itself just different than everything else I do, and uniquely yours and hopefully ours that we've built for a long time here. So thank you for everything that you do.
My pleasure. Absolutely.